3 seconds, that's all it took. 1 second, I was just another guy in a uniform walking through an airport. The next second, a cop was in my face, voice raised hand, hovering near his weapon, telling everyone around me that I fit the profile of a suicide bomber. Yeah, that happened. And if you've ever believed that doing everything right would somehow protect you from being treated wrong, this story might hit a little too close to home. I've spent most of my adult life believing in structure, in rules, in the idea that if you show up prepared and professional people will meet you with the same energy. I worked for it. 20 years in federal security, climbing rung by rung, learning when to speak and when to shut up, when to push and when to let things slide. I missed holidays, birthdays, funerals, all the things people tell you you'll regret later because I believed in the mission. And on that morning, I really thought I was just doing my job. I remember standing in my bathroom, straightening my tie, looking at my reflection and thinking, today's going to be busy but clean, no drama. Pick up the director, get him where he needs to go, make sure the meeting happens without a hitch. That was it. Nothing heroic, nothing flashy, just responsibility. You know what I mean? The drive to the airport was uneventful, which in my line of work is exactly how you want it. Government-issued black sedan placard on the dash, parked right where I was supposed to park. The air outside the terminal smelled like fuel and heat and impatience. Inside it was that familiar airport noise, rolling bags, muffled announcements, people half running, half lost. I walked with purpose because time mattered, not because I was panicked. I'd done this 100 times before. That's when I felt it, that stare, that thing you can't explain unless you've lived it, like someone decided you were interesting for the wrong reasons. I didn't look back right away. I didn't need to. I already knew. Hey, you, stop. I turned, calm hands, visible, polite, because that's how you survive these moments. The officer stepped in close, way too close, and started asking me where I was going, why I was moving so fast, why I looked nervous. I wasn't nervous, I was focused. There's a difference, but he wasn't interested in hearing it. I pointed to my badge, my patches, the uniform that had taken me decades to earn. He didn't even glance at them. He looked at my face instead and said, I don't care about the costume. Costume. That word landed hard, like a reminder that none of it mattered to him. I asked what exactly was suspicious. I wasn't raising my voice, I wasn't posturing, I was genuinely asking because there was nothing there. And then he said it. Suicide bomber, just like that. Loud enough for people to hear, loud enough to freeze the space around us. You could feel the air change. People stepping back, phones coming out, a kid getting pulled behind a parent's leg. Fear spreads fast when someone in authority drops a word like that. And all I could think was, if you really believed that you wouldn't be standing this close to me. So I said it out loud. If you think I have a bomb, why are you 2 feet away from me? He didn't like that. Logic tends to irritate people who are running on ego. He told me to stay put, said he was running my ID, accused me of impersonating an officer. I told him who I was there to meet. He said he didn't care. That was the moment I realized this wasn't about safety, it was about control. I remembered my body camera. I'd turned it on out of habit when I parked. Best habit I ever formed. I raised my arm slowly and told him to search me, right now. Do it. Because if I was really a threat, that's what protocol demanded. And he froze. Just a flicker, but I saw it. He knew. Instead, he detained me, refused to search me. Let that sink in. He told everyone I was a terrorist and then chose not to verify it. People were recording, whispering, arguing on my behalf. I stood there, arms burning, watching the clock tick closer to the moment I was supposed to be meeting my director. And then I saw him. Walking toward the exit, scanning the crowd, confusion turning to anger when he spotted me. The director didn't run. He didn't shout right away. He walked straight into the scene and asked the officer what he thought he was doing. That confrontation felt surreal, like watching a switch flip. Suddenly the power dynamic changed. Suddenly the uniform I was wearing mattered again. Dispatch confirmed my identity over the radio, loud enough for everyone to hear. Active federal security. Cleared. Release immediately. The officer stepped back. No apology, just waved me off like I was an inconvenience. I looked him in the eye and told him he'd be hearing from us. And I meant it. The drive after that was quiet. Adrenaline wears off fast, leaving you shaky and angry and exhausted all at once. The director was already filing complaints before we reached the facility. I told him about the footage. He nodded like someone who'd seen this play out before. A few days later, I was sitting in a lawyer's office watching my own humiliation on a big screen. And then we heard it. The officer's voice caught just before the stop, muttering something about wanting to see how tough I was. The lawyer paused the video and said, "That's intent." That was the moment I knew this wasn't just my word against his. The lawsuit went public. The department tried to spin it. The video killed that narrative. People were furious. Protests popped up. Pressure mounted. They offered money. I said no. This wasn't about a payout. It was about making sure this kind of thing had consequences. Eventually they settled. $845,000, one of the largest settlements of its kind in that city. The officer lost his job, his badge, his career. And people kept asking me how it felt to win. Here's the truth. It didn't feel like a victory lap. It felt like relief. Like putting down a weight I never should have had to carry in the first place. I went back to work. Same car, same doors. This time people nodded. Some saluted. The culture shifted just a little. I used part of that money to help others who didn't have cameras or directors walking in at the right moment. Because for every story like mine that ends in accountability, there are dozens that don't. And that's the part that still keeps me up at night. So what do you think? Was the settlement enough too much, or was it never really about the money at all? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me if you've seen something like this or lived it yourself.